This is the most boring Rolex money can buy, the Oyster Perpetual. This is my personal Oyster Perpetual, the reference 124200, that I bought in November 2020. It was my first Rolex that I ever bought, and it represents something I never thought I'd own. It might be the most boring Rolex money can buy, but I also think it is the best and most versatile watch in their current catalog. It's like vanilla ice cream. It's not boring, it's classic. And for those of you with your fingers on the keyboard ready to type, but what about the Rolex Explorer? Hear me out here. If you're new here, hi, my name is Brittany, and on this channel we just talk about watches in a hopefully not pretentious and joyful way. I don't always succeed on the not pretentious part, but I'm doing my best. I'm a work in progress. Today I want to talk about the most special watch in my collection, and probably the only watch that I think I'll still be wearing when I'm a little old lady, my Oyster Perpetual. Now, whenever I talk about this watch, there's always two different types of people that come out of the woodworks. The first type of person are the people who say, "Oh, the Oyster Perpetual, it's like the Porsche Boxster of Rolex. It just shows you can't get any other Rolex." This is one of my least favorite attitudes. It's so snobby and ugh. If someone is proud of their watch and excited about it, there's no need to pee in their cereal. Just be a decent human. And two, those who complain about how boring the OP is. And they're not wrong. But I dare say, the boringness is a feature, not a fault. It's because the OP is so boring that it's the best, easy wear, daily driver kind of watch. If I had to have one watch in my collection to wear forever, I'd probably pick the OP. The proportions are perfect, it's so classic and under the radar, and it has the perfect go anywhere, do anything specifications that I'm always looking for. Speaking of the specifications, looking at the 124200, this watch has a case size of 34mm, a lug-to-lug of 39.8mm, and a thickness of 10.8mm. The 34mm is a bit of an odd duck because it's too small for a lot of men's wrists, which has made it kind of undesirable. But I think it is the perfect size for my 5.5-inch wrist. This is the most wearable watch in my collection. Another big feature of the OP is the water resistance and the movement. So it has 100 meters of water resistance, and inside the 34mm is the 2232 automatic caliber, giving you 55 hours of power reserve. This isn't the most exciting movement of all time, but if you have a smaller wrist, you know, just finding a mechanical movement in a smaller size watch is a hallelujah moment, let alone an automatic caliber with -2+2 precision. If you're looking at a larger Oyster Perpetual, this is where things really start getting spicy in the movement department. So the 36mm and the 41mm variations house the 3230 caliber, the exact same movement that is in the Explorer and no date Submariner, with 70 hours of power reserve. People always say to me, why buy the Oyster Perpetual when you can buy the Explorer? But one could make the argument that the Explorer is just a 36mm OP with a 1,000 pound premium for the professional clasp and Mercedes hands. I'm not making that argument, to be clear. In my humble opinion, the Explorer is far sportier than the Oyster Perpetual. Completely different, but I think one could make a pretty strong and compelling argument for this. Now there's another criticism that I always see in my comment section when I talk about the Oyster Perpetual, and it's how boring it is. And I really can't argue with it. It is kind of boring, but the boringness isn't a fault, it's a feature. I feel like boring, versatile watches are the unsung heroes of every watch collection. The Oyster Perpetual I chose has a black sunburst dial, lume-filled baton hour markers, and the Rolex coronet at 12 o'clock. It has loomed baton hands, and a fun little detail that's unique to the 34mm is the Roman numerals along the minute track. I don't think any other size in the modern catalog has that. Because the OP is such an easy-to-wear watch, it gets a lot of wrist time for me, and I feel like it works in a lot of different situations. I can wear it to the gym with jeans and a t-shirt, I can wear it with a sporty dress, or with a shirt and nice trousers. The bracelet has the 5mm comfort extension, which is something I'm always looking for, just on-the-fly micro adjustments. Fun little piece of gringa lore. This is the watch I was wearing when I got into my cycling accident back in March. So for anyone who is newer here, this amazing graphic is going to help explain what happened to me. A few months ago, I was riding my bike to work. I was going down a big hill when I got hit by a car. It was honestly terrible for me, but my OP made it out all right, baby. Still keeping perfect time. It's pretty scratched up, but I can't tell if it was like that before the accident or if that's like an after thing. People have always been telling me not to wear my Rolex cycling and wear a G-Shock or something like that instead. And I get it. But for me, what's the point of having sporty watches if you're not wearing them when you're doing sporty things? But they'd always say, what if you get into an accident? And there's a lot of wisdom in this, but maybe not in the ways you'd initially think. So obviously my OP is completely fine from the accident, but when I was admitted into hospital, they had to take everything I had on me off. My phone was taken out of my pocket, my backpack was cut off of me, my clothes were cut off of me because I was completely unconscious and not responsive. And I had to go in the MRI machine and they had to take my watch off of me. They had all my belongings in this weird little bowl on the other side of my bed. I don't remember most of my time in hospital. I was either knocked out, severely concussed, or on crazy drugs. So my memory's really in and out. And I was just so confused and in pain, concussed. I was just so confused. And every time I wake up, I remember I kept waking up in different rooms than where I just was. They were moving me all around the hospital, and I think just from that experience alone, I could have very easily misplaced all of my most valuable items, like my watch. But fortunately, my wonderful watch geek husband came. He saw all my belongings that matter a lot to me next to my bed, and he took them home. So thank God. But if it was just me, I could have easily seen myself walking out of the hospital without my watch. But that's all just a side tangent. Getting on to what this video is supposed to be about. This is a watch that I'm really proud of, and it holds a really special place in my collection. It was my first Rolex that I ever bought, and it was one of the first Rolexes I ever really wanted. I had tried on the Yachtmaster in 37mm with the Ever Rose Gold and the Oyster Flex, but at that time, I think it costed about £18,000, so that wasn't happening anytime soon. I still love that watch. And this was the other Rolex that I wanted, which for me was financially ambitious but achievable. And it was exactly the kind of watch I needed in my collection, an easy to wear everyday watch. Whenever I make a video or talk about my Oyster Perpetual, I'll always get some, what's a polite way to say this? I'll get some unsavory people who will say, oh, this is the Rolex that you get when you can't get any other Rolexes. Or, this is the Rolex equivalent of the Porsche Boxster. These are insane luxury items. I couldn't disagree with this sentiment anymore. This is a watch that I love, and it's probably the most versatile Rolex you can buy, in my humble opinion. And if I had to own one watch, just one watch, have a one watch collection forever, this is the watch I would choose, with a close second to maybe the Datejust, but I'm a bit more of a no-date person. I've had this watch since November 2020, and a few years on, I truly still don't have any complaints or little niggles with it. It's not a crazy hero piece like my Daytona or a flashy dress watch like my Santos. It's just a good, humble, old faithful that's always getting the job done. I have no complaints, and there is absolutely nothing I would change about this watch. Now, if you're wanting to get an Oyster Perpetual in your life, this is just my humble opinion, but I really wouldn't recommend paying over retail for this. These are becoming more available through the authorized dealers, and the secondary prices will soon be below retail, in my opinion. Especially if you want to get a black or navy variation and you're not trying to get a Tiffany blue or something like that. Get your name on that AD list, keep bugging them, keep popping in, and hopefully it'll come up soon. There are some great affordable alternatives to this watch as well, because although this is still entry-level Rolex, £5,000 is still a lot of money to spend on a watch. So if you love this style, there's the Tissot Gentleman, which is a watch that still doesn't get the praise it deserves, the Monta Noble, or one of my favorite watches I've reviewed this last year, the Nomos Club Sport Neomatic on the bracelet. For a real bargain, the Casio Core Collection, which is about £45, same style and a lot of fun. I really think I should get one of these into review. So this was my shameless defense of the boring watch. Let me know in those comments down below, what is the boring watch, your boring unsung hero watch in your collection? I'd love to know. Don't forget to do all those things to feed the YouTube algorithm gods. If you like this video, give it a like, please. That would be amazing. You guys are gorgeous, you're fabulous, you're wonderful, and let's thank the Pope tier patrons. Yeah! It's the patron song funky mix. Thank you patrons, thank you patrons, thank you all tier patrons, but thank you Pope tier patrons. An extra big special thank you to newest Pope tier patron, Roshan. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. You're amazing. You're all amazing. Thank you patrons.